He just had the zoomies like 15 seconds ago. So I'm like, is he gonna just like jump on the couch and jump on this table? He's been jumping on these tables a lot recently.
I'm telling you, this cat knows when you're recording because every time we start recording, he's like, "All right,
Leave that majestic creature alone. Casey is more entertaining than any of us could ever hope to be in our lives. So
honestly,
the jealousy is reading here. That's my
Uh-huh.
first note.
say it's an orange cat. I will. I'm jealous of that bitch. She sits around and eats
Hmm.
plants all day. And on that note,
Literally.
hi y'all. Welcome to a special surprise episode of Baby Daddies. I know you're like, oh my god, the season's over. What the fuck are they gonna talk about? We have Daddy TV co-founder, creative director, playwright, screenwriter, copywriter, correct? These are titles.
No, those are all true things.
Topher Cusumano is here. How you doing, Topher?
Hi. I've not been called a playwright in like a lot of years. So that was the one that got me like, oh, what?
Listen, I did some research today.
I did a little bit
Mhm.
I see that. I'm sure you read some like mediocre to bad reviews of my previous work. So thank you.
Everything seemed decent. I was, put some articles here, some LinkedIn stuff here. So what can I fucking find out? Mario, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great today. It is a little overcast, but you know what? We're bright and sunny in here. That's what matters.
Oh wow, wow, that makes
Hmm.
at least one of us. I'm like waiting for that coffee to like seep in. Then I'll be good.
I have
So,
impression, so it must be nice to Mario.
Oh,
well.
Wow.
who said I don't have issues?
Wow.
Hmm.
Okay, well now you're censoring yourself in my trauma. That's how I feel. No, I'm kidding.
Now,
I've
hold
been watching
space
a
for
lot of Housewives.
that. So, Topher, we wanted to bring you on to talk about For the Love of Dilfs, talk about Daddy TV, talk about some topics, some questions, some things that we wanted to cover. And I've really given an overview of the show because we've been loving it. The people have been loving it. And we wanted to, take a peek behind the curtain if we could.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's really exciting. And right before we started recording, I thanked both of you for all the work you put into this because I just think it's awesome that sort of the fans are communing about the show and people are picking apart the work and being really interested in kind of wanting to know the nitty gritty and really following the storylines. This stuff takes a lot of work, and you do kind of always worry like, no one's gonna give a shit. Like, no one, what if no one cares that Dr. Dilf is actually, the knight, right? Like, what if no one cares? So the fact that like you guys care and like other people are listening to you and also caring, it means a lot. It really does.
We watched
Hmm.
season one. Mario like brought this show to me out of nowhere. It was like, we have to watch this.
Hmm.
Mario is like, I think the person that loves reality TV more than anybody I know. So when he brought this show up, it was like, we have to binge this. I was like, okay, sure. So we watched season one, and while watching, I was like, we need to have a recap show for season two. And so I was so happy to be able to do this. I had so much fun doing this. It's been such a joy. So thank you for making such good TV.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. I can't wait to see season 5 All Stars. Like, it's gonna be
Okay.
amazing.
That's like, go ahead of
Fingers
yourself,
crossed.
girl.
Before you two spend the rest of the time being nosy, because I also notice you two are nosy,
We
which I
are,
love. I have a quick question that I've been curious about as
of
I've listened to
course.
the episodes. Do you two have some kind of background in like production or film? Because there are times when you two will be like, oh, well, that's the craft service table, or oh, sometimes they need to hold to reset the camera, and you couldn't get that shot from that angle. You're on sticks or handheld, and so like, where is that coming from? Because you guys seem like more active, engaged participants than just normal viewers.
I went to school for media production. I went to Temple University for that. So yeah, that's how I have my own little, peeks into it.
Okay, that makes sense. Sometimes I was listening to episodes, I was like, they know too much. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
am just a huge consumer of reality TV. Like, I started my reality TV show watching in high school when I was stumbled I was late night, stumbled across an episode of Drag Race, and then I flipped the next channel, Flavor of Love, and I was like, oh my
Oh, I
God, New
love
York,
Flavor
this
of Love.
goddess. And I've just been watching reality TV since like 2011, like 11th grade. And now I've recently gotten into Housewives. I've seasons and seasons of Housewives. So I'm just like, you know what? I know where this camera person is. I know what this person's going to do. I know this leads into this storyline. It's
She's cracked
just,
the code. She's
I can't
the
get enough of it. It's so addicting.
Listen, my business partner and I both always say, and Daddy TV is run by another really, really smart filmmaker, who does everything kind of alongside me. He does more of the production side. I do more of the creative side. But we always talk about like no one teaches reality TV production. Like no one teaches the craft of it. No one teaches how the storylines are built or what makes a good kind of unscripted narrative story. And we always say that like the best producers in this field are just the fans. Like it is just the people who have wanted to watch every obscure random reality show who then says like, "Oh, I get it now. Like I've seen enough of this that I get it and I think I could make them." So I feel that that's how we started. That's how Daddy TV got off the ground.
Great. Well, that's actually the first thing I had on was let's talk about Daddy
Hmm.
TV. How did we start here? How did we find what made y'all want to come together and start Daddy TV together?
Yeah, so Daddy TV, in its first form was Daddy Couture, which was a queer apparel company.
Okay.
And that was founded by Rebecca Moore and Matthew Camp, and my partner Artie was sort of the mastermind behind Daddy Couture, and they started it before I kind of entered the picture. I was a stand-up comedian and a playwright, like you mentioned, and I got an MFA thinking that I wanted to teach, and I was kind of on my own journey of writing queer stuff and writing about sex and writing about intimacy. While also sort of engaging in sex work and hanging out with sex workers and thinking a lot about sex and labor, in like a really academic, like not boring, but like I was, I thought I was going to be like a playwright, right? Or like a
Yeah.
professor who wrote about other people's plays about sex and labor and feminism. And obviously, then I found out that like that doesn't pay very much, if anything. And I said, "Oh, because one thing they teach you when you start being a whore is if it doesn't pay well, the gig's probably not worth it." And that's what I learned about academia when I was like, "Oh, I've been like doing sex work for a long enough time that I'm now realizing this gig does not pay well." And if my whole thing was thinking about sex and labor, I said, deuces. Uh, so while that was going on with me, Artie and Rebecca Moore, the famous British porn star, and Matthew Camp, the other famous porn star, they were making these cool, queer apparel pieces. I started writing t-shirts for them at one point and like marketing stuff. Um, and then Slag Wars happened, and we made a show called Slag Wars. We got money from men.com. And we made a reality show about sex workers. We made a show about slags, and it kind of changed everything. That led into Hot House, which led into Iconic
Hmm.
Justice, which led into our show Fucking Smart, and so on and so forth until finally you got to For the Love of Dilfs. I will say, like, Daddy TV was founded because so much of mainstream reality does not hire people with OnlyFans accounts. They don't hire people, certainly from the studio porn world, unless there is sort of some trauma lens through it or some sort of explanatory lens, right? Like,
Yeah.
TV never wanted to explain queerness to straight people. Like we make shows for queer people, and that's kind of what the brand has always been, right? Like even the idea of like what a himbo is, right? Or what a DILF was in this context, right? We had to kind of trust that people would either know because they were queer, or if straight people wanted to watch, they would like find a queer person and ask or Google it.
Yeah. Like what is
Hmm.
this?
Yeah, we still put like like there's like fisting jokes in For the Love of Dilfs. I mean, we get write-ups in People magazine, but we're not really trying to water down the the lens of the show, right? And that is like a queer, self-aware, progressive, silly
And that's
crew.
what I love. I love it's like gay gay. You know what I
It's
mean?
very gay.
It is gay gay and it's unabashed of that. Really quick, I want to touch on Hot House and X Rated and all of these shows that focus on sex workers, people who are in the industry, queer people, the importance of sex positivity in media, and specifically in queer media, because I feel like a lot, not just reality TV, a lot of TV will, like you said, only show us in an explanatory way or on a cop procedural, you know. I'm sure the amount of roles that Willem has had playing a sex worker on like 911 and all the medical shows and things like that. Like this is the only time that we see queer sex workers and queer people. It's so I'm glad that we have sex positivity in media like this. But I want to know what was the importance doing things like this for reality specifically, outside of scripted.
I think the thing about reality TV is it has always been a safe space for queer people, right? Like queer people have always championed reality TV and have always really pushed it into the mainstream, but also pushed this idea of finding the authenticity within the camp and within the absurdity of it, right? Especially if you're thinking about like the golden age of reality, if you are thinking about like the Flavor of Love period, right? The Tila Tequilas of the world. Those shows were kind of surface and like offensive and weird in some ways, right? But there was heart in these cast members. There was so much vibrance and personality without them even having to try. And I think that what queer people do is kind of champion these underdog celebrities and make them icons. It's like part of our cultural role. So combining that with, like I said, this lens of joy, right? Like Hot House specifically was about I mean, self-aware through the with a lot of self-awareness. It's a show about community, for better or worse, and it's silly and it's like happy, and no one goes home, right? And X-Rated is the same thing. I think what's fun about X-Rated NYC, our docu-series, is once again like the self-awareness, right? Like we're reality TV fans, so we're always kind of in on the joke of everything, especially in those docu shows, right? Where it's not a competition. Not that they're not real people, but like, Boomer Banks and Dante Cole know that what kind of show we're making and they kind of love it.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting because we never really show them on set. So you will never see, Boomer Banks or Max Connor or Dante Cole or Joey Mills like specifically like on a porn set. Like X-Rated NYC is designed to be the opposite of how you would envision that show going down. Mostly you see porn stars in the context of their work in these kind of like behind the scenes docu-series, and it always has to remain flirty and it always has to remain like deeply intimate. And I think the fun of X-Rated NYC is it kind of shows this very real aspect of sex work, which is like not all porn stars are sleeping together. And in fact, it's more like, hey, sis, right? Like it's more,
I can tell you,
more sisterly a lot of times than it is like, oh, we're all like dating and fucking. Like, no, we're coworkers who like have messy, dramatic, silly relationships.
It's a little more clerical. It's a lot less orgies. Now, for the love of Dilfs, I think number one question that I have gotten from people is regarding, for lack of a better, it's kind of a loose term, the himbo and daddy dichotomy, right? It's a little loose because at its core, a himbo is what? Like somebody who is supposed to be nice, kind of dumb and hot, right? It's like a male
and supports
bimbo,
women.
Something, yeah.
And
we stretch a little bit. People are always like, but that's not a himbo. And I'm like, suspend the disbelief. Was there ever a time where it was two other things to demark, or was it always going to be himbo daddy?
No, I mean, what is fun about those words for me is this conversation. What I love about Twitter and a lot of Twitter responses to the show, especially on season 1, was like, when are you gonna get real daddies? So then like out of spite, we put like a real dad on the show. But they're made up words.
Yes.
Like they're kind of like they are self-identifiers. And what I like about the idea of himbo and daddy is it is more of a vibe than it is anything else. I think even in real life, right? People, yeah, like the show is about age gap relationships. It is about intergenerational dating. Inherently, that's where a lot of the fun comes into the show. Um, but outside of that, like I think a himbo is like fun and like vibrant, and I think a daddy is a little bit more set in his ways, a little bit more put together, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. The show has defined itself over the seasons, and we wrapped on season 3 already, and I think it's still settling, right? But I will say, like after season 3, I think the show really knows what the cast wants to be. And I do think it's about like a vibe, right? It's about like daddies are caretakers and daddies are emotionally settled, right? And then the fun of the show is seeing that dust get kicked up for them, right? So like
Yeah.
how does dating a younger person kick up some of these old wounds, these old traumas, right? If you think about Dr. Ed, how often in a real relationship is he going to get called out for being controlling, right? Like, how often is that actually going to happen unless you're dating a younger person on a reality show who's actually looking at you through this very specific lens, saying, like, oh, that could be a red flag. Let's have that conversation.
Yeah.
I think the same thing about Anthony, right? Like, in a normal dating
Mm.
situation, someone like Anthony could get up and just go for a run whenever he wants to. I'm not making a judgment on like anyone's intimacy style, but I will say what's interesting in this context is like, well, what happens if you can't? Like, what happens if you actually just have to have the conversation and not lean back on these sometimes decades old safeties and defense mechanisms, right?
Yeah.
I think on season 2, the most interesting case of that was Jimmy. Like, what happens if you just have to open your mouth? If you can't be just, conflict avoidant through this entire
Yeah.
experience? Like, what happens if you just don't have
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity to do that? Um, so yeah, that's what I like about the daddy thing being so loose is like, as long as we feel like they're emotionally settled in some way, you could be a daddy, in my opinion.
I mean, I tell Imario all the time, daddy's a mindset, you know.
You
It
have
is.
said that.
I have said it multiple times. Daddy is a mindset, and I agree. I think it was really interesting with both Dr. Ed and Anthony. Anthony for the fact that the experience helped him, open up and be more vulnerable, and like you said, like yeah, you can't go on a run all the time. You have to stay there. And I feel like a lot of people, if faced with some of these situations, would just take the just walk away kind of route. They're,
Mhm.
it's not worth my time. I'm not going to put the effort in. But when you're stuck in that and have to actually work through it, I think that does. I mean, it makes for good TV. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Hmm. I also really love that you said that being a daddy or being a himbo is a vibe because, like, I've been called both, which is crazy to get called daddy. I'm like, I'm 5'4", 130 pounds. Like, I am so small, but like, I'll tell my friends, oh, I did my homework, I did my taxes. And they're like, oh, wow, you're such a daddy. You have it all put together. And I was like,
You take care of the
okay,
cat.
girl,
You are
take
a
care of
daddy
the.
now.
I am, I'm a father. You know?
Yeah. No, and I think that we always want to stretch what that means on the seasons, right? Like showing someone like Dr. Ed and someone like Nigel, personality wise, both cast in the light of daddy, it does lead to these really cool textured questions about like, oh, you could be a femme emotional daddy, right? Like
Mm.
Hell yeah.
he's an emotion, like I find Nigel to be like an emotional leader. I find him to be really empathetic and caring. I do think that that's like a daddy quality in its own way. So, it's fun to pick apart it because they're made up words, right? Like
Exactly.
everyone listening,
Hmm.
please stop tweeting that like you just have to be old or have kids. Like go watch another show. It's fucking annoying. Shut up.
Yeah, because I've definitely had to like tell people, let's just not ignore the definitions of the words, but like just understand these are just the groupings for two types of people, and that's like they don't have to fit the definition 100%.
And I will say to
Mhm.
everyone who likes to bitch and moan, there are there is like, even if you don't want to parse apart like the cultural reference of what a himbo or a daddy is to queer people, the daddies are always older and the
Mhm.
himbos are always younger. Like at its core, again, like they're always intergenerational in some way. So, if you get confused, just lean back on that.
Yeah. If you see a sliver of gray, it's probably a daddy.
It's
Probably a dad.
I mean, let me retract that statement. A lot of the men in my family started graying at the age of 21. It sadly missed me. I was begging for that gene. I was begging for gray hair. I could have been Salt and Pepper by now. It could have been so nice.
Did you want to do a rogue cosplay?
I am at the end of the month. C2E2 is
you?
coming to Chicago. I got my rogue outfit in my closet.
Wow. Am I psychic? I'm psychic.
I think you might be. I think you can like sense
Mhm.
it somewhere in there. The back for those of you watching the video, the background censored the drink that Topher's drinking right now. Let's talk Stormy Daniels. How did Stormy come into the project?
We were looking for the perfect host. That's the thing. It was like this was such a weird show to develop. Because just like you, we had to ask ourselves, like, well, what is it, Daddy? What is it? Are we looking for like really old guys? Are we looking for like really like 18 to 21, right? Like, what does this show
Mhm.
look like? And I'm glad where we settled there cast wise. And then going back to this layer of self-awareness and this layer of kind of camp and fun, who better than Stormy Daniels, right? And we were always really aware that it was kind of it's a little random, but then also like it makes all the sense in the world. On season one, her cold open script says something like, you know, I know it's weird I'm hosting this show, but the check cleared and I
But
love
the check cleared.
yeah, and like that was kind of always the Daddy TV mantra too. Like, how do we center sex workers in like a different light? And I think the idea of Stormy Daniels, one of the most iconic porn stars in the entire world. Um, and yeah, like the stuff with Trump and sort of the cultural figure of it all, like that's cool. But I also just think it's like really cool that a really famous porn star is also like a mainstream reality to like
Oh yeah.
she's never naked. She like right, like it's fun and it's sexy and like obviously like we play into it, but Stormy is just a great host and a great comedian. It all kind of aligns.
Yeah, her physical comedy, her the way she delivers lines as well. Like she
You
knows
love
how
her
to
little
take it and run
acting
with it.
moments.
I love a Stormy acting moment. That's actually probably the next thing that I wanted to get into was the tiny little acting moments that she gives us at the end of every episode.
Dr. Dilf calls, yeah.
Yeah, the
Love.
doctors of calls. Where did the idea from those come? I love every single one of them.
Thank you. So going back to me being I trained as a playwright and then I did stand up and then I was a comedy writer for a long time. And if you guys watched Hot House, we have the Hot House narrate.
The
Like
actual house itself.
the actual house itself is the narrator, like the Disney made for TV movie Smart House.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I think on this show, we didn't want to lose some of that, like those scripted genes. This show is 100% organic, right? Like no one tells them how to date, how to pick, all of the eliminations. They vote how they vote. Um, but what makes Daddy TV is like, how do you take something that's so organic and raw and you have like Nigel hysterically crying and then smash that up against what is clearly like a scripted SNL skit almost, like these random little scripted moments. Um, so that was sort of the impetus. When we were first writing the show, we also thought that that is where you would meet the single for the next episode.
Mm,
So that she would be on the phone, she'd be
Mhm.
like, Dr. Tilton, like she would do the whole thing about the episode, and she'd be like, yes, they're here, like on Fantasy Island, and you would turn
yeah.
and see them like walking down the path. But then it's like it kind of spoiled seeing, like it gave too much in that last moment. So we moved that to the front. We just kept them as funny little skits.
Nice. I love him. I
Mm.
especially like the one with Matt where he takes her
Oh.
phone. That was great. That
That
was a
was
good
spur
sport for
of the
that.
moment, mostly because we loved Matt. And one day in, one day out. Not that we were rooting for a Nigel Rico breakup at all. Obviously, based on how the season turned out. But he was so excited to be there. He was such a good sport about being voted out. He really was. Like, he was laughing and being playful, and his banter with Stormy was really charming. So I'm glad that we just improv that one
Oh,
and had
nice.
fun with it. He did so nice.
Well, I said it last time. I was like, did we said Matt for season 4?
We
People
did say
wanna
Matt for
fuck
season
that man.
4.
Can I just say that people want to sleep with Matt so badly? And not that I'm surprised, but like the response to Matt has been very direct and swift.
Direct.
People want some lawyer cock. People want that pro bono boner.
Oh my
They
God, I
want.
forgot he's a lawyer. I fully focused on the comedian part.
I know everyone thinks he's like a birthday clown. No, the man is a lawyer.
Birthday.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Oh my God.
Well, I don't know, Jake. I kept thinking he was a pediatrician because you kept.
Well, you're right, because he looks like my childhood pediatrician, Dr. Sholnick.
Not Dr. Sholnick getting a shout out on the pod.
Yeah, shout out Dr. Sholnick. Keep me healthy as a kid.
Wow.
Yeah.
But no.
So much about you too.
I know. If he ever comes across this, he's gonna be like, what is going on here? I don't even know if he's alive.
He's gonna think I should have aborted that one.
Probably. Like, oh, how they grow. I wanted to, before we started recording, you had mentioned someone being poly, and that's something else that I get asked about a lot in terms of the show. They're like, well, the show seems so monogamous based, and I don't know, has there been any moments where people were considering doing open things, or how would the show handle people being poly?
Yeah, that's a good question. I will say, like, it's not a show about polyamory. I think that there's
Exactly.
more to unpack in that conversation, to be honest. I don't think, I will say we've had couples say on the show that they had open relationships. So I think we have
Mhm.
tackled it in the way that it's about finding the couple who is most committed, right? That does not mean monogamous on this show. I will also say, like, I don't know that Nigel and Rico are still together. I don't know, but like, I don't know that they're monogamous. I don't know that any of the couples who are still dating are monogamous. Most of my gay male friends who are in committed relationships are not monogamous.
Well, Imario.
Whether that means they're playing together, whether that means you have a bestie who you get blowjobs from, whether that means
Mhm.
you're full poly and you have multiple partners. I don't think we shy away from that on the show, but I think the focus of the characters is about building that committed, like, this is not the person you just want to fuck for the rest of your life. We're saying, like, who do you want to play video games with? Who do you want to
Mhm.
wake up next to? Who do you want to share a bank account with? In my experience of gay men, that does not mean the person that you're gonna only sleep with for the rest of your life. Although some people come onto the show and say very clearly, I am monogamous. You may not sleep with other people. I will be jealous and upset. Others have come on and been like, nah, I'm good. Like, Bobby and Nate, I think, had a whole scene about being open. Like, I don't think.
I think so. I think in season
Mhm.
1, during the compatibility test,
Yeah.
more people were open to being open than in season 2. I remember maybe it's just fresh in my mind, but in this past season, I feel like only a handful, maybe like 2 or 3 people actually said
Like the
yes
green
to that
flag.
part, the green flag for
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, I mean, again, sometimes it's just a matter of preference. I will say I hope people don't presume it is the stance of the show that to win you should only be like, that is not part of the judging rubric that they're
Yeah,
ever.
no, that's not
Mhm.
the people haven't been saying that, but people
But
have
the
more
what
so
if
been,
of it.
yeah, like what, yeah.
I don't know how we would. I mean, no one's ever come to us and said we want to have a triad and then still get voted the winners. And I think,
Ooh.
mathematically that like I'm so
Hmm.
bad at math, you guys, like that would probably give me a panic attack because I'd be like, okay, so now I have three people, that leaves me X amount of votes, and you need this many. Like that stresses me out. So I hope no
A
one.
polycule, but they just vote two people out of the polycule to be the winners.
Now
That's
that
my
would be
hope.
TV.
What if both okay, but wait, so what if both the top two couples, when Stormy's like, and the winner is, they're like, hold everything, and then it's a four-way kiss, and they're
Mhm.
all together, and
Uh-huh.
they split the money.
And then everybody stood and everybody clapped. Yeah, break the crown,
And we were
Mean
gagged at home.
Girls, and you get a
We were
piece, and you get a piece.
all those Stormy bucks.
Oh my god, I still have my storybooks right here.
Listen,
Did you guys get Stormy bucks? Like, what is
Stormy
happening?
Bucks.
How are the cops being smuggled? I am upping security immediately.
You
No,
know,
I'm
let's
pressing
just say we have a
charges. Are you
contact.
just stalking
We-
us? Like, did you
We
break
have an
off the
inside
set?
contact. Let's say that.
I mean,
You guys.
I'm not going to say anything, but when you see a picture of me and the dolphin,
Yeah, the CGI dolphin.
Gloria, that damn dolphin. She's nosy.
Wait, did you say she has a name?
wait,
Astoria? Was that the name? I missed it.
Gloria.
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 Okay, I thought her name was Astoria. I was like, ooh,
I thought you
the
said
dolphin.
Astoria.
She's Brooklyn. She's Queens.
Queens.
Oh god. Oh, Gloria, that's so cute. I love her.
I love the dill floor. This is exactly what I wanted from today.
See, this is really what this is about, is the peeks behind the curtain. Like, why Gloria? You know, what is what's her narrative? Where is she gonna narrate?
I don't think I've ever said this on any podcast before. My partner and I already love running jokes, and some of them are like so long running they're not even jokes anymore. They're just like role playing characters that live in our lives. So Gloria is our fake personal assistant. So like if he'll be like I'll be like, hey, can you like send me those edits? And he'll be like, please ask Gloria. And I'll be like, hi Gloria, good afternoon. Will you please ask Mr. Davis if he has those edits prepared? And sometimes on the phone, if I do that, he'll be like, "Hello," and do Gloria's voice. So we name things after her sometimes, like the dolphin.
Shout out to her.
Right?
Something else that people have asked me about is the casting process. And I don't know why people are asking me necessarily, but like, because some people, I think as people watch both the show and the recaps, there's more people who have like, I had someone come up to me at the bar the other day where they were like, what's the show about? How do I get on it? This looks fun. And I was like, girl, don't ask me. I'm not involved with them. It's like, do some research. So for the people, to quell it, what's the casting process like? Because the girls are eager.
Yeah. So if you follow at DaddyTV or at OutTV, we'll always post the casting notices. You have to send in a video.
I saw 'em.
They go to the network first. So just so people like, so DaddyTV, the company I co-own, we're just the production company. And then OutTV is the network. So all the audition tapes go to the network first. So please, like, you don't have to DM me dick pics or try to butter up. Like, I get no first say in anything. But no, it's a 1 minute or a 1 to 2 minute video where you have to explain why you're a daddy or a himbo, like what's your definition of that term, why you're into the other, right? So I'm a daddy because X, Y, and Z. I'm into himbos because of X, Y, and Z. And then why you feel like you're ready for a real relationship. So a little bit about your life, like, and I'm looking for a real relationship because I'm recently divorced and I think I have a great personality, right? Like whatever that is. It really is that simple. Show us lots of personality, show us a lot of heart, be really authentic, right? Like we can kind of smell bullshit from a mile away. My biggest thing is we make a lot of shows in a year. We always want to see audition tapes from everyone. I will say, if you're not into daddies, right? If you're not really into himbos, you're probably not going to do well on this show. Like we do take that part seriously in the process. Like on set, there is no one telling you who to pick. you will be judged by your peers. They will be able to tell if you're not into daddies or himbos. So
Mhm.
faking it just to get on a popular show is probably not advised. And also, other people have done that storyline probably better than you can. So don't try to recreate something.
Work. You hear that, Imario? 2-minute video. I'm not. I'm just putting it out there. I'm
I
just,
mean, listen, I put the reel up on what? Was it Friday? The first thing was Imario, get on season 4.
yeah. It's
Um,
there.
Oh, speaking to piggyback off that question about casting, has there ever been, I don't know if I should be okay to ask this, has there ever been a moment where someone sent in an audition video and it's like, well, you may not be a fit for this show, but can we put you on this?
all the time. All the
Oh,
time.
okay.
Yeah, that is, I mean, that is like a big, just in production in general, I think that's a thing that happens, right? There's always people who are so talented and sometimes it's a numbers game, right? Like we get so many audition tapes. Sometimes there's just too many good people for a season, and you have to hold on to some of them. And we send DMs to people all the time, being like, "Hey, we got your audition tape. Yeah, you didn't make it this time, but I swear to God, like we really loved you. Like, please know that we really, really loved you." So if anyone listening ever got a DM from us like that, we meant that. There's lots of people in the roster who we would love to work with.
Hear that? That's for all y'all. Keep sending tapes.
Yeah,
Keep sending them. Next, also in the casting process, I have noticed over the course of both seasons, I always really appreciate the amount of body diversity in types of people. That is something that sticks out to me compared to other reality shows. Other reality shows in general, but also specifically, I think reality shows that feature queer people. A lot of them have just been cookie cutter muscle gaze, and I like that.
Mm-hmm.
When I turn this show on, I see people that I see in the real world.
Yeah, thank you. So that is something that I am very, very, very proud of. Deeply, profoundly proud of, actually. One, centering older men in a position of sexuality, sensuality, attraction, I think is really healthy and important for queer men. I think that a lot of people still joke like, "Oh God, gay death is 30." And it's like, no, look at Big Sal. Big Sal is so fuckable. Get out of my face.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but also like personally, as the person who makes the show, right? I'm a bear chaser. I need a juicy ass. I love a belly. I like hair. Um, and sometimes as an artist, it's like create what you want to see in the world, and I want to see fat, hairy ass bouncing across my screen in slow-mo while descending from a pool as Stormy Daniels shakes her titties in the foreground.
Amen. That's
I
my
can see the
dream.
shot right now. Like, I
That's my dream. But you did see the shot. It was Rico and Nigel all season. The shot was there. It was them on that boat.
But no, we've always loved juicy men and women on TV. Even if you watch Hot House, honestly, I think Hot House could have veered into a place where it was like, well, OnlyFans creators to be successful, you have to be really thin. And we always had plus size people on Hot House. Like
Mhm.
big sex workers make a lot of money. Like fat people are hot, fat people are fuckable, fat people are desirable. And we need more of them on TV. So
100%. Yeah, I just had to touch on that because I was like that. I always really, and I talk about this when we first watched season 1. I was like, oh my God, these are like real people, which I love that. I want to get into a couple iconic moments from season 2 and kind of get what was going on behind the scenes. What was everyone thinking? Was everyone running around like a chicken with their head cut off? The first one, the Pride.com photo shoot and the importance of that, because those photos, stunning. And the article,
So
like,
good.
what went into getting that all set up? Was that always the plan? How did that come about?
Rachel from Pride.com is fantastic. Like just a really cool, interesting, big supporter of the show, big reality TV fan. So for season 2, I think this idea of later in the season, how could we bring in an outside person to judge, I mean, frankly, to judge, for me, it was always about first impressions, right? You know, when you meet a couple just like at the bar and you're like, oh, that was such a fun couple. Like they're like a charming, cool, like I liked meeting that couple as a unit together, right?
Mhm.
As a stranger. They had good vibes. That was kind of the impetus of like where we wanted to go with that challenge. And then when we thought like, who would we get to do that or judge that, or what does that look like in a gamified comp, right? Like, how do you make that a game or a challenge of some kind? Making it an interview made the most sense. And that's also why I'll say, because I think you guys mentioned it maybe on that episode recap. We intentionally do not judge the pictures for
Hmm.
that reason. Stormy
Yeah,
says it's not a
Keith brought that
modeling
up.
competition.
Yep.
Yeah. And we do that. And yes, I mean, him and Jimmy look very cute in their pictures. But what we tell Rachel to judge is chemistry as a couple, which, you know, some of those himbos are influencers or literally runway. Like Keith is a runway model. So I love Keith. I would work with him again and again and again. He's lovely. But like, yeah, no duh, bitch. You took a good picture. Like, that's not like, I love that he came on this podcast and was like, and our pictures would have won. Like, yeah, of course your pictures would have won. Like, that's
They were
why
great
they judged
photos.
on that. So yeah, no, I think Rachel is a good judge of character and she's a good judge of intimacy and love. So that's how that one came about.
Nice. The DIY disaster. Was there ever a plan for them to actually do the DIY stuff?
No,
Okay, that's
no,
what I thought.
no,
That's what I
no,
thought.
no. So, oh, wait. Okay, wait. So the DIY stuff, I thought we were gonna do. I'll tell you exactly how that
Okay, yeah,
came
let's talk
about.
about it.
This is, I mean, without breaking too much of kind of how the show is, you know, put together.
How the
We
sausage
knew
is
that
made.
we had Rico and Nigel going, and when we showed this, Rico and Nigel left the house. They had a whole date. So like crew members obviously had to go just to get them there, right? Like they had to go with a story producer, they had to go with like someone to make sure that they were just safely arriving and like getting on a fucking moving helicopter. So it was like a slightly smaller crew. And the reason it was written to be those like DIY dates was to be like, oh, we're going to really like quietly and gently, because we knew it was going to be a big elimination because it's our compatibility test, which is always like a big moment.
Mhm.
You never know who's going
Hmm.
to go home. So the thinking was, let's give them like a really simple, fun activity like tie dye. And what I thought was going to happen was that we would see them kind of being like, hey, babe, I know that we might go home tonight, but I just really want you to know this experience has been. So when I was like piecing together the segments of that episode or the activities that they would optionally be able to do, I was thinking emotionally the cast would be more there. When I tell you that
Uh,
as that day progressed and as Nico and as Rico and Nigel were leaving, we kind of very quickly realized like, oh, the group has stuff that they might want to say to each other because Keith and Hazel were like, they had that
It's
whole
too
thing happen.
slow.
Well, they had a thing in the bedroom, and I was like, I think the group is kind of bubbling over. So we let everybody play in the kitchen, and then they had a group conversation, and then what happened happened.
yeah, it definitely happened.
There
I
was
will say,
real in the reality TV.
we wrote it though, to be fair, like there were things in that box that they could have like we were planning on actually tie-dyeing some underwear. Like we were
Okay.
gonna do crafts and that sometimes it just doesn't work out the way you think it's going to.
I
And
mean,
your
that's reality
reality
TV.
TV and your art department says, why did I spend $50 on a tie-dye kit? And I say, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Damn.
Are the boxes still available? Can it be like, you know?
My favorite Dr. Dilf joke that I ever wrote. So I write all the Dr. Dilf voiceovers. My favorite one I think I ever wrote is in that episode about that moment. And I think it made it to the episode, but I think Jimmy says, oh, did Dr. Dilf send us a box of bees? And Dr. Dilf just goes, a box of bees? Why did I think of that? That's hilarious. And it really made me laugh to think
Everybody gets
that.
bees. That's a good one. Next, the Anthony versus Hazel situation.
Mhm.
What was going on behind the scenes? Because a lot of this, happened during mic changes, kind of off scene.
Mhm.
From a producer standpoint, how are you like, shit, how do I get the people to understand this is what is happening here?
So it's a great question. We are really, I mean, we're really good at knowing where things are happening and when. And there's those cameras around the house. You see them like in the hallway and you see them in the bedroom. So things don't typically get around us. I will say that. Like there's no privacy on set. Like it is
Like a
very
bottle of Tito's in someone's drawer.
yeah.
Oh.
No comment there.
I'm sorry. I swear I'm not shady. I'm a nice girl.
I will say, when, with the Anthony Hazel thing, I think it was about they came up really early in a scene, like pretty quickly after the fact. They brought it up. So part of it is about just like making sure that you have people telling the story enough, right? Like, because that's the thing, like, if the story changes over the course of several scenes, it might not be true. So like, seeing how the story plays out between a few people, and that's why we show it play out on the show a couple different times with different people. And we just let the audience weigh for themselves. If you hear all of the people involved tell the same story multiple times from their point of view, if it's good enough for Hitchcock, it's certainly good enough for Daddy TV. So we let people fill in their own blanks.
Nice. Yeah.
We definitely had a theory crafting moment.
I guess on that, like as viewers, did you feel robbed somehow that you didn't get to phonetically piece together the exact interaction, or did you walk away feeling like, well, everyone admitted it happened? Like,
well, I mean, we're crazy people, so I think we'll never be satisfied. We're always like, we want to see more gameplay, we want to see more people whispering, we want to see more espionage, we want to see all that. So we'll never be satisfied. We might not be the best people to ask. I will say this. After watching it, I definitely, of course, I wanted to talk to the people involved to get everyone's story. But I also, I said this on multiple episodes. I said two things can be true at the same time, and that doesn't negate either of their experiences. Just because someone took it that way doesn't mean that's how it was intended. That's how I've always come at that situation. So that's... Yeah.
I will say it was not planned this way. Obviously, if I could have captured that moment on film,
oh, of course.
Obviously, I would a heartbeat. I would have cut off a pinky to do it. What I do like about that situation, though, is that it mimics a real friend group in that if your man is swerving on your friend, you will not see it happen. You will not get an instant replay. Your friend will come to you and say, I think this happened. You will go to your man and your man will say, well, here's actually what happened. And then if you're lucky, you will get them both in a room together where you can say what happened. So I think as a viewer of this show and thinking that this is a show about building relationships, the fact that an audience does have to live that moment through Daniel's eyes is powerful, right? Like you are experiencing as a viewer how the twins had to handle that. And for me, I think that maybe that's like more emotionally impactful than getting to see everything happen.
Oh, of course. I just want to be a fly on the wall in Dilf Mansion always.
Josie, you both broke onto set and stole Stormy Bucks. The FBI is on their way. You're gonna get spotted. I swear.
I did say that I was gonna snorkel my way to Dilf Mansion.
You did say that.
This is like misery. This is like I'm getting chills, you guys. I feel like I'm in an A24 movie. Like one of you is gonna be like, and I'm in your house right now.
I'm Dr. Dilf. It's gonna be like Misery. Yeah, when Imario's gonna get on season 4, I'm gonna sneak a tile onto his into his suitcase, and then I'll snorkel my way to Dilf Mansion. And I'm just gonna sit next to Stormy Daniel. And my goal is to be her like flotsam jetsam. I just want to sit there, make weird noises, and help her scheme.
You're hired.
Perfect. I'll take it. The last thing that I wanted to touch on about season 2 specifically was the Nigel and Jimmy situation. And because there were a lot of people in the room at that time, a lot of things happening. What was everyone else thinking? Did anyone think it was going to get more explosive? Because I know up top it felt like it could have turned into a full screaming match, and it didn't. But
we're talking about the moment with all of the daddies and
the daddies. The first time in the daddy set when they're confronting.
Yeah. You know, I think that was one of the first moments where Jimmy kind of had an opinion that was strong enough that he wanted to share it. I think for people like Jimmy in these situations, what's interesting is they don't want to just say anything and not be able to take it back, right? So they have to really know they mean something.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that like builds up over the course of several days. And I think at some point when you're building something up internally, what happens is you'll notice little things then, and those little things start building up into big things. So it's like, well, did you see the way they looked at each other? And did you see that, right? So instead of just saying, I have a really big problem with Rico saying, you had to vote for me, and just keeping it there, it is easy over the course of a day or two to then go to, and you cry too much, and you're toxic, and I don't like the way you two smell, right? Like, so I think Jimmy had a great point. I think Jimmy delivered it as best he could in that moment through his own, you know, anxieties about being perceived, his own anxieties about playing this game. It's like a weird game to play where you have to go against people, but then they have to vote for you. So there's all of that. Like you said, I think two things could be true at once. I think that like some of that was a very nuanced, specific conversation. Also, like at some point, just a difference in like how people want to have relationship, right? Like sometimes, but like you know, sometimes you could be right, but you also might be like inadvertently yucking someone's yum.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
I mean, like, Jimmy did say the best he could. Like, you know, should it be this hard all the time?
All the time.
I think that's the best way he could have said it.
Jimmy said it when he was on our episode with him. He mentioned that because he felt the need to clarify. He was like, DaddyTV did not tell me to say anything. They waited until I felt enough to say something. I think that was more like paraphrasing kind of what he said, but he was like, yeah, no, nobody told me to say anything.
I will say this in every interview I ever conduct about our shows. I do not get paid extra for being conniving. I don't get paid extra if a certain person wins or loses. And when I tell you that at its core, DaddyTV is a bunch of like queer sex workers, we're not going to put in the extra effort to manipulate all these people if there's like A, no benefit, and B, it's like, what's the point? They fight amongst themselves. Yeah. Like, no, we never tell anyone to do anything.
And there's a lot of other reality TVs.
You'll just get edited out. I do tell them that, like, you know, if you don't have anything to say on an episode, we film for 10 hours a day. An episode is 1 hour. So I will gladly cut you out of an episode. Sure.
So pipe up and get cut.
Yeah. If you want that check to clear, you better open your mouth.
That's how it works. And was there anything that was like cut for time, but was super memorable? And you're like, damn, I wish we could have shown that.
That was covered.
I like that question.
That's a great question. Let me think if there was anything that was cut for time. You know what? There was. There were really, really lovely, funny, good moments with the strippers.
Oh, I didn't forget to see more of those.
There was so much that episode. There was so much voting stuff happening there, and we did want to your point, that was one episode where I think the gameplay was really informing the relationship. So we did want to show more of those tactical conversations than we typically might on other episodes that focus a lot on the romance too. I think that episode needed to be more weighed toward the games and the votes and the strategy of everyone. What we ended up losing, though, were these really sexy, charming dates where all of the couples got a chance to work the pole themselves. Kane,
Wow! Because that's literally what I said that episode. I was like, I wish we could see them on the pole.
they did. Each of them took a turn on the pole. We have Kane doing his split. That whole scene was really organic and lovely because in that one, like they were just hanging out in the cameras were just rolling and they were hanging out in the living room and we had strippers and Stormy Bucks and they were playing around and being hot. And I remember watching the string out with the full footage for the day. And knowing it was gonna have because we had so much juicy, good, like there was just so much stuff that we had to show for any of it to make sense. That I knew a lot, if not all of it, was gonna get chopped. And I remember watching and being like, "Oh, this is so cute!" Like it was just so cute. So shout out to the cast; they had so much fun that night, and they really were really sexy on the pole.
Damn, now my fears are confirmed. Because I was like, that. I was like, damn, I wish I got to see them on the pole, and now I know the cut is somewhere on a hard drive.
What I will speak to, and not to make you feel terrible about it, what I thought was so cute is a lot of the daddies tried too. Like a lot of the daddies, like it wasn't just the daddies being like, all right, himbo, twerk your ass for me. Like the daddies tried to be sexy for the himbos too. And I love when daddies put in effort like that. I think it's really sweet.
I love it. Yeah, in moments like that, and in the BDSM rope challenge, like that, not challenge, but that moment, I was like, damn, I could like watch a full hour of just this,
absolutely,
like, just hearing them talk about kinks and exploring sexual fantasies and like that conversation of it all. I was like, I could watch a full hour of just this.
Nigel did say he had like 27 kinks, so
we montaged it, but another funny thing that had to get montaged and like really like missed a lot of the fun of it was them actually doing the bondage class. It was like a full, like, I don't know, 20-minute like instructional on how to do those knots. And watching these fucking himbos watching them try to do the knots, but equally like watching them like getting like mixed up as they were getting tied up was really funny. Like I remember that being a thing that I was like, oh yeah, if it was like a 2-part episode, you could watch 10 minutes of just them getting tied up. It's like
100%. Yeah, that was maybe one of my favorites this season, was getting to see the bondage class and what happened thereafter of everyone talking about that kind of stuff. So yeah, I truly was like, this is great. I could watch all this. And my last question, we're swinging for the fences. This is a long shot. Is there anything you could share with the girls about season 3? I'm like, don't get yourself in trouble, but
I'm trying to think of like a really good teaser. Okay. There is shocking voice notes play a bigger role than anything I've ever made before. Shocking voice notes.
Shocking voice notes. The Nancy Drews are going to find that out.
Honey, I hope you will do another season of this for season 3. And I hope
we are.
Absolutely.
This moment back when you watch episode 1 of season 3 and you will say, we've unlocked what this could have meant.
Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait. And I can't wait to go back and rewatch season 1 and recap that with Imario. We're very excited to go back and do a retrospective on that.
My goodness.
But Topher, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, shooting the shit, giving us some insider knowledge on how the show is made and everything that goes into it. We are always so happy to watch anything from DaddyTV, really. So yeah, we just thank you so much.
Please, and I say this with all my heart, I really do. So believe me when I say it. If I see you anywhere near one of my sets again, I'm fucking arrested. And I'm not playing. Stay away from me. Stay away. No, I'm kidding. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
She's an actress. I was over here leaning in like, are you going to tell me you love me? Stay away from my set.
This is where he tells Imario that he's actually on season 4. I was like, You're so perfect. I love you. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone else who has worked on For the Love of Dilfs for making such great TV. If you are seeing this, and we appreciate you. And not just for making this show special, but making it stand out amongst other queer reality TV shows. A lot of other shows do like 1 or 2 seasons of like, what's the big one that I always talk about? Are You the One? Did like 1 queer season, right? That a lot of times reality shows gives like, well, they're like, here's the gays, 1 season, you're done.
That's all you get.
That's all y'all need. I appreciate that this show is unabashedly queer, stays queer, is for queer people. I love it. So thank you so much.
Thank you guys for watching. I mean, we couldn't do it unless people were tuning in and being really engaged and wanting to do stuff like this. So I was joking before, but I really do appreciate this. It's always fun to listen to you guys.
Thank you. Before we leave, do you want to promote anything?
You guys can follow me at TOPHCUS. So that's Topher Cus. You can follow me on like Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. And then follow DaddyTV at DaddyTV. And yeah, check out our other shows, please. For the Love of Dilfs is amazing. We have other shows, though, with lots more trans folks. We have shows with girls. We have a game show. We have a courtroom show with Willem. So yeah, dig into the Daddy TV canon. It means a lot to us. We put a lot of work into it.
Man, and shout out to Willem for liking one of our reels yesterday. Imario, where does the booty do the origami at?
Well, Gloria and I are actually doing a collab. I will be twerking on her while she's swimming, and you can catch that at bootyorigami.twitter.com.
Oh, that's not a bottlenose dolphin. That's a booty nose dolphin. You can follow me at Krog Hunk for all my personal stuff, where I talk mostly about comics, video games. You can also follow me at Poison Touch Pod to see my other podcast, the Poison Touch Advice Hour, where Gay and his friends give you all the best and worst advice to deal with all of life's predicaments. Also, if you are a fan of Japanese RPGs, I am starting my 365 days of Persona 3, where I'll be playing 1 day every single day. So if you want to see me pretend to be a Japanese high schooler, check that out. And we will catch you in, what did we say, Mario? Like a month or 2? We're going to do season 1. Taking a little bit of
like a month or 2.
Little hiatus. Give us a month or 2. Let me catch up on some Poison Touch episodes, and we'll be back talking about all things season 1. Bye.